Hello, everyone. My name is Jorge Rivero González, and I work as the Science Communication Officer for the Institute for BLBIF. First, I would like to thank the organizer of the session for inviting me to give this talk. For the past decade, I have been involved at different capacities in organization of global science outreach programs, including educational activities. In this talk, I will present lessons learned from my experience. First, I would like to introduce why astronomy for education. Well, the most obvious reason is because astronomy is awesome. Since ancient times, people around the world have marveled by the wonder of the sky and have reflected on their place in the universe. It is also this continuous quest that makes astronomy join us beyond board. These are just some of the reasons why astronomy is a perfect tool for development, education, diplomacy, and outreach. And indeed, there are a wide variety of examples of projects that help support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. If we look specifically into education, astronomy is considered a gateway science for education, due to its ability to encompass many subjects present in school curricula worldwide, spike curiosity, and foster critical thinking. Astronomy has also been identified as the favorite science topic for boys and girls in many countries around the world, according to the renowned Rose Project. In this sense, astronomy education initiatives are a keystone for global public engagement programs organized in recent years, such as the International Year of Astronomy, the International Year of Flight, or the IAU initiative. These are projects that have been reached hundreds of millions of people around the world and had the key aspect of astronomy/science for education as one of their goals. In particular, IYA and IYL, as United Nations observances, had also institutional support brought by the United Nations that allowed funding for many activities. For our community, IYA was a game changer that set the foundation of the structures that are very important for the IAU nowadays, such as the IAU Office of Astronomy Outreach with the National Outreach Coordinator that were capital for the organization 10 years after the International Year of Astronomy of the IAU 100th anniversary. Another example of educational initiatives that have been involved are the European Commission funded Universal Awareness, Space Awareness, and Space EU projects coordinated by the Astronomy and Society Group from Leiden Observatory. At the core of these projects, it has been stimulating global citizenship, fostering critical thinking, attracting students to STEM career, as well as developing resources for primary and secondary schools and science museums. Through an international consortium over the past decade, this project reached 1 million students and 36,000 teachers. The other project I will be mentioning today is very close to my heart. The Galileo Mobile project was originated during IYA 2009, when a bunch of astronomy students organized an itinerant project in astronomy with communities in Bolivia, Chile, and Peru for 2 months. And those were communities that usually don't have access to this kind of program. Since then, we have continued our passion and learned a lot during the past 12 years, 7 different cosmovisions under the same sky, and reached over 17,000 students and 2,000 teachers in 15 countries. In the following, I will introduce different aspects I consider important from my experience that show the benefits of international initiatives that bring to astronomy education. As you will see, it's a mix of experience on central organization of projects that are implemented through networks, as well as field experience working with teachers and students directly. The first aspect I would like to bring to your attention is the community engagement. The example set by IYA 2009, including an attractive set of central flagship initiatives implemented by a robust network, mixed by leaving room to people to adapt their programs following similar goals, is key to establish and give momentum to networks and for mobilizing the international communities of amateur astronomers, communicators, and educators. Examples of these are the 100 Hours of Astronomy in 2009 and 2019, the 50th anniversary of Moon Landing in 2019, or the Astronomy Days in a School in 2019 as well, that included many activities with educational components inside or outside the schools. In most cases, the communities organizing these activities were mobilized for over a year, participating in most events proposed. As an example, I'm really proud to say that 66% of the over 5,000 IAU 100 activities registered were organized by grassroots organizations with no links to the International Astronomical Union. As I mentioned, this type of initiatives are great for bringing momentum to establish a network, or for organizations to keep organizing educational activities, but are also a great opportunity for people to come up with innovative action, or also for people to start being involved with astronomy education. As you can see in this picture, as myself and some of my colleagues did with the Galileo Mobile project during during the International Year of Astronomy in 2009. Sorry. The next aspect I would like to talk about is the benefit that Global Outreach Initiative brings for the production, localization, and distribution of educational resources. As I mentioned before, these projects are linked with institutional support and even specific fundraising for this aspect, which is quite important, especially for communities that lack of even basic materials. Here we can discriminate between production of resources and development of activities. There are plenty of examples, but let me mention, for instance, the development of the educational telescope Galileo during the International Year of Astronomy, which since then have distributed more than 250,000 kits in more than 110 countries. Another very successful example is the Universe in a Box kit, developed by the Universe in Awareness Project. This kit assists educators in bringing astronomy and space science to children. Through a crowdfunding campaign, over 1,000 Universe in a Box were distributed worldwide, with many people donating boxes to communities around the world. Another great initiative originated by the Universe Awareness Project was the AstroEdu repository, a platform for astronomy activities that are peer-reviewed by both astronomers and educators, and comprise a wide collection of activities that bring educators ready-to-use lessons for their classrooms. However, it is important to notice that the production and distribution of resources is not enough. As important is the localization with translation and the adaptation of materials or activities to the local realities, as well as the establishment of actions to work with teachers so they know how to use the material. So they can with this we can avoid that they are used only once and then stored in the school. From experience for Galileo Mobile, it is also important to showcase the materials to students if you're performing activities in the school, so they can also remind their teachers about them. The third aspect I would like to highlight is how international collaboration contributes to learning about the different realities of educational systems and international projects. As the one I mentioned, bring the expertise and opportunities for it, especially when you're creating educational activities and your ultimate goal is that teachers will implement them in different countries. You need to find the ways that astronomy is present directly or indirectly in a school curricula in different countries. Otherwise, teachers will never find activities you are producing use. As an example, the Space Awareness Project made a preliminary study in 2016 about how astronomy was present in school curriculum in the 11 countries where its activities were implemented, as a basis for the production of their activities. Other excellent example of this type of studies, the review of astronomy on educational system done by the Office of Astronomy Education, of the notes of the Office of Astronomy Education, that made a study in 66 countries, and you can see these reviews available on the OAE website. Another very important benefit are the opportunities for teacher training. It is clear that the main benefit brought by this international initiative is the possibility of access to funding to organize teacher trainings around the world, as shown by projects such as the Galileo Teacher Training Program or the NASA program that were originated during the International Year of Astronomy. However, most important of this initiative is the train the trainers approach that maximizes the impact of the action. During the past year, it also has gained importance to include the communities of teachers involved in the co-creation of teacher training programs, which is even more relevant when you're working with underrepresented communities. So with this, they can take ownership of the action. And regarding the reach of teacher training program, there is also a problem that many projects encounter, and this is that teachers that usually participate are already eager to use astronomy for education. And they are difficult to reach beyond that bubble. An interesting initiative to put that bubble was done by the SpaceIAU project that worked with organizations that train pre-service teachers to introduce benefits of astronomy in workshops that involve teachers at the very first stage of their careers. Something really important that brings this international program is the promotion of the access to astronomy to everyone, emphasizing the participation of underrepresented groups. From central actions such as Touch of the Universe, for instance, the Touch of the Universe project with production of educational materials for visually impaired people during the International Year of Astronomy, action like the Inspiring Stars project in 2019, which is an itinerant international exhibition promoted by the IAU to highlight world actions that address the concept of inclusion at outreach, or even at other type of actions like education. Or for instance, the light sound eclipse, a tool developed for those who are visually impaired to experience the variation of light intensity during the solar eclipse in real time. Here you can see an example of an activity done during the solar eclipse in 2019, where this project distributed 20 devices in communities for Argentina and Chile. This and many other examples inspire our community and encourage people to not leave anyone behind as we reach for the stars. Finally, a problem that could be associated in the implementation of this global initiative is that they could just become a one-time event, caused by the joy of participating in a worldwide event at a certain time frame, and once the spotlight is turned down or the funding streams are cut off, the projects die and people move on to start a new project and leave behind all that was produced. And most problematic, the people reach. This is even more dramatic when working with underrepresented communities. So it is very important when organizing global programs to consider early on the sustainability of your action. For educational activities, it is important, as we have mentioned, the training of teachers, so they eventually continue using astronomy in their classroom. In that sense, in Galileo Mobile, we learn early on of the importance of spending quality time in the school with the teachers, to develop bonds with them and foster cultural exchange. It is also important that any projects working with the schools and teachers know the local reality and their needs, so to be considered. So successful sustainable initiatives need to involve local organizations and people from its inception, and not as simple vehicles for people outside the communities to impose their views to their local communities. For sustainability of the action, especially working with the represented communities, it is also important to keep the contact and exchange of experiences. As an example, in Galileo Mobile, we have worked towards that goal by coming back to the same places several times and continue collaboration with local organizations. Also, with a program called Constellation that was established in 2015, we established a South American network of schools committed to the long-term organization of astronomical outreach activities among their pupils and with the local communities. And for that, we use an online platform and social media, so they could exchange their thoughts and experiences. Or the more recent example, through the IYA project, we use the WhatsApp platform to implement continuous capacity building support to teachers who already we work with them in the framework of the Amanar project during our visit to the Sahrawi refugee camps near Tindouf in Algeria. These efforts are quite challenging, especially for volunteer projects like Galileo Mobile, but are key to have a real impact. I would like to finish with this quote, saying that education is the most important tool that we have, that we can use to change the world. There are many resistances by people that want to interfere with this message, so society does not evolve, and the majority of people don't have access to the most important needs, such as the access to quality education. It is our job as an international community to learn from each other and work together toward this. And I would like to end here my presentation with this message, and hopefully I will have shown you enough reasons about the importance of global astronomy outreach programs with educational components that contributes to this goal. Thank you very much for your attention, and you can find more about the projects I mentioned in the links included around the presentation. And you can reach out to me by email or on social media. Thank you.